to filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing hole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hi there, come on in. It's Thursday night, January 16th, the year 2003. Now, Zachary has some news about some thin ice for sportsmen, not just on the lakes, but in the world of politics.
Yeah, our new governor appointed a chief of staff who has a history of working the anti-hunting side of the street, but I'll cover that in the Michigan Outdoor News. Also, the ice conditions have been treacherous with the number of fatalities this past weekend. I'll have an update in the guide's report, so stay tuned. I'm Zachary Trost.
And I'm Fred Trost with a show for the practical sportsman.
Oh!
Come on. That was a nice catch.
Come on!
Oh, yeah.
Come here, Mello. Oh, another one!
Last week, we introduced what I thought was going to be a great idea. I'd have Zachary do the news, a little news clip, and then I'd give my editorial comment as to maybe the other side of the story or a broader picture. I looked at that at home and I thought, man, I don't like that at all. It just didn't seem right. So we're going to go back to the old format. Zachary's going to do the news, and then I will just take one subject and comment. I'll either do a practical perspective, I call it, or maybe a sportsman in the law like I'll do next week. But for right now, we're going to go back to the old format, and then I'll give my perspective after the news.
A picture of a bicyclist carrying a deer on his back was printed in the Iron Mountain Daily News on November 20th and was soon flying around the internet where many people saw it. Many thought it was a fake, but Sarah Hoffman and Christina Blockland, both from Iron Mountain, said it was for real. They drove past this guy on Sunday, November 17th on Carpenter Avenue. He had a field-dressed, frozen white-tailed doe on his shoulders, and he was huffing and puffing. The girls zipped ahead and purchased a disposable camera at Shopko. Well, once the guy caught up, they asked him if he could take his picture. He stopped for the snapshot and went on his way.
The current outdoor buzzword lately has been CWD, chronic wasting disease. It's a disease not found in Michigan, but it's one that has killed deer and elk in other states. The current issue of the Michigan Outdoor News has a front page article on CWD that starts with this lead sentence. To avoid catastrophe in Michigan's deer population and collapse in the multi-million-dollar economy associated with hunting, the incoming Granholm administration and the Natural Resources Commission must take aggressive action, according to Resource Stewards, a group of professional resource managers, including many retired DNR biologists. Now, one of these retired DNR spokesmen said, "This is no idle threat. Unless we act boldly and act now, we might be condemning our deer, elk, and moose populations to death from chronic wasting disease." Now, this is the kind of rhetoric we've been hearing lately about CWD. But just what is the basis for these predictions of catastrophe and economic collapse? Nobody has explained to me why CWD has been able to exist in deer herds out west for years, and recently the populations of deer and elk in these hotspot areas for CWD has actually been going up, not down. I mean, where has the economy collapsed? Where have deer, elk, and moose been wiped out by CWD? No place I've heard of. It's a disease like many others that exists in nature. In fact, take a disease like rabies. The symptoms of CWD, like rabies, are extremely gruesome. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But, let's talk about some of these other contagious, fatal diseases found in nature. Bovine TB is one. It's found in many animals, not just deer. It's virtually impossible for a hunter or even somebody who eats deer meat to get bovine TB from a deer. Same story with CWD. It doesn't affect humans or livestock, at least that's what they tell us, and not all deer get it. It's not like some biological weapon of mass destruction that kills everything. I mean, neither is brainworm. That's a disease that's killed deer in Michigan for a long time. It's passed through elk and moose, and humans cannot get it. Another thing, as with all diseases, wild populations develop immunities. And it's through outbreaks and death of a number of the animals is how these immunities are developed. But we have a couple of other diseases that, I really don't understand why our government isn't in a panic over. West Nile virus. It kills tons of birds, kills animals, and it's killed hundreds of people last year in the United States. Now, where's the move to kill more crows that carry the virus? What about rabies? Most any animal can get rabies. Your dog, your cat, your household pet. And it's devastating and fatal like CWD. Plus, you can get it. Humans are very susceptible to this, but I don't hear any outcry to kill the predators, which are the main carriers of rabies. My take on this CWD and bovine TB fuss is that our government and these so-called wildlife professionals, these are people who have made their living through feeding out of the government trough for years. And I really don't think they're giving us the straight information about these diseases, as well as other diseases. I think they're creating a panic on purpose to achieve some political goals and their own personal ethical goals and even economic goals that benefit government much more than they benefit wildlife or the everyday sportsman. Of course, I could be all wrong on this. I've been wrong before. But until somebody comes up with more persuasive information and evidence, that's the way I see it.
Well, this week's Fish and Game Hall of Fame comes from one of Michigan's smaller counties. 10 years ago, its population was only 15,000, and it hasn't grown much. Well, on a Michigan highway map, this county has only 10 communities, and 7 of them are really small. So here are 7 small hints. Alger, Delano, Maple Ridge, Pine River, Sterling, Turner, and Twining. Well, any idea of the county? Okay, well, here's the gimme clues. The 3 big towns in this county are Omer, Augrey, and the county seat Standish. Well, the county is right here on the west shore of Saginaw Bay. Arenac County, population 15,000. This area has been inhabited for a long time. Indian artifacts have been found in Arenac County that date back more than 5,000 years. The name of this county is a combination of a Latin word and an Indian word. A guy named Henry Schoolcraft named it. The Latin word for sandy is arena, where the gladiators battled in the sand of the Colosseums, and the Indian word ak means earth. Seeing all the sand in the area, Schoolcraft made up the word Arenac, a sandy place. Well, why is this county so small? It didn't used to be. It was once part of the Bay and Saginaw counties, but in 1883 it split off on its own. Flowing into the Saginaw Bay are 3 major rivers for fishing and canoeing: the Pine, Rifle, and Augrey, which has a marina on the Big Lake with an inland channel to the town. The Tittabawassee River State Forest is a public hunting area, and here are some recent Arenac County additions to our Fish and Game Hall of Fame. These were some of the trophies taken in recent years in Arenac County, a small county with big attractions for sportsmen. The next Hall of Fame will be coming from Allegan County.
In 25 years or so of doing outdoor television shows, I haven't done hardly any features on hunting preserves. I don't know, maybe a half a dozen times. And it's not that I have anything against hunting on private property that's artificially stocked with game, because I don't. I mean, I'm all for stocking fish in ponds and rivers and lakes and, so we can catch them. I'm all for wildlife management projects that propagate more game in the wild so we can hunt them. And I don't have any problem with areas that are fenced in to contain wildlife, to give hunters a little better chance of getting meat for the table in really what's a historic and traditional and natural way. But there are certain groups of hunters and people in government that want to do away with preserve hunting. They call them canned hunts, like there's something wrong with them. Well, let me give you the reasons why I think preserve hunting in this day and age has a legitimate place in the outdoors.
What we'll do is we'll go ahead, we'll start over here, work into the wind is we're going to put 2 dogs down. We got 3 guns. We may end up with 2 points at one time, which is fine, but let's just be careful.
Okay, now, you know where the birds are.
Sort of.
Okay.
Because they're going to move after we put them there. They won't be where we put them.
So the point of this, though, is because pheasants aren't readily available to a lot of hunters in this state.
Correct.
It wouldn't be as much fun if you put a flag out there so
Sure.
everybody knew.
No. That was,
So do you lead the hunters on a little deviant goose chases and to try to psych them up?
well, what's happened is those birds that we put down are not where we put them down. They're moved. And we want them to do that because we want the dogs to be able to work the birds. You put a bird in one spot, and if he doesn't move, it's pretty hard for a dog to pick up scent unless he actually comes right across it.
All set.
So those birds will be moving, and they won't be where we put them. And we will. We might end up over by the road. I mean, we'll just have to go where the dog goes.
Now, are these birds going to really fly?
These birds fly well.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. I'm not going to have to pick them up and throw them for you.
Okay, but so the birds are not like wild birds, but they're close? Or?
These birds fly real well, and I think you'll see that when you get out there.
Okay.
They're hard-flying birds. You'll see they fly hard.
Got him? You won't get up there.
That was exhilarating.
Good.
I don't know what it is, but you forget that this is a preserved type of hunt thing, and it's just, you're back there in 1957. That was cool.
This is good. It's good.
Real good. Oh, this was a rush. I mean, the birds ran like they do in the wild, and it's great to see good dogs work. Watch this English setter put on the brakes and slam into a point.
There you go.
The bird runs, the dog has to move, we're right behind.
There go Bert. Get it. Take it, Jimmy. Hip. No bird. No bird. Come on back, Hawk.
This rooster made it across the road, off the Orchard Hill property. It's gone now. It's on its own.
Now this is like hunting wild birds.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice bird. Easy, Hawk.
So what happens so much in hunting natural birds is that they flush out there. And then you think, it's got away, which is like the real hunting experience. God, this is fun. This is honestly a lot more fun than I remember at other hunts I've been on. Oh, yeah. Everything on this hunt was like hunting wild birds except for 2 things. There were a lot more of them, and being pen raised, both roosters and hens are fair game. Preserve hunting is private hunting, and the state game laws don't apply, but the old habit of letting hens go, that's hard to break.
Now, that's not like a normal hunt. Right. Hen! Second dial in, didn't it?
As Fred mounted the gun, and it just took that that was a long shot.
Yeah, not as long as that one over there. If you keep in mind the purpose of preserve hunting, I mean, taking hens and roosters is no problem because you pay for the birds, whether you harvest them for the table or let them go.
Come on.
That was a nice cackle.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Come here, Mello. Oh, another one.
Oh, there's no point. Not all preserves have birds that are so wild, and some people don't like to pay and see their birds get away. It's all in your values. But if you enjoy it, I defend your right to hunt on preserves.
Attaboy. Work in here.
Jim Brunel sent us a recipe for quail smetana, and I know that doesn't look like a quail, and it isn't.
It is a very large quail.
It's a pheasant, and it does adapt very, very well to this recipe.
Well, we just didn't have any wild quail at the time for this recipe.
You're going to go ahead and dust the pheasant or quail with flour, and you could use one of the shaker bags here, would work just as well, but you do want to make sure that it's completely covered. And then going to fry.
In a quail pan, of course. It really doesn't fit.
Right.
The pheasant. Would it be better, actually, with pheasant, big pieces like that, to cut them into smaller ones?
It would, but I don't think you're going to get the same effect. It's going to dry out faster. Smaller pieces will dry out faster. So leaving it like this, it'll just cook better. Then going to put a little bit of wine with the bird to just make it moist. Then you go and pour the drippings over the bird.
Ooh, that'll...
Right, and then it goes into the oven. And you could cover it here to also keep the moisture in, but you just want to keep an eye on it. Then I'm going to make a sauce out of...
Oh, there's the pan that we use at deer camp. I recognize it. It's that's after we wash it.
Well, that's good. And then you're going to make a sauce out of just onion and butter, a little bit of wine, flour, sour cream, and lemon juice and pepper. And it'll actually thicken down pretty good with just a little bit of flour in it. And then just pour this over the bird.
Yeah, oftentimes a sauce like that can make almost anything taste great.
Yes, it
of course,
does.
Our guest here that we have is John McKenzie from Quail's Restaurant in Houghton Lake. He's cooked an awful lot of wild game. He brings a lot of knowledge about wild game to the dinner table.
There's an art to wild game. It's more difficult to prepare than domestic foods.
Because it does dry out faster.
It does, yes. It doesn't have the natural oils in the meat to begin with. Actually, you're not going to be able to improve on this very much leaving it in the carcass form. The pheasant, if you remove the breast while it's raw and pound it thin, you have a better chance of preparing it where it'll come out a little moister. But in the carcass form like this is cooked to perfection.
Well, how about that? But you said something before about wrapping foil around it or something to...
Yeah, so you can wrap them in paper or foil. Helps hold the steam and the moisture and regenerate itself.
You mean like the turkey in the bag at Christmas?
Yeah, very similar.
But it would taste pretty much the same?
Yes, it would.
And this...
It would be a little, it helps break up the sinew in the meat when it cooks slower. The actual natural enzymes work in there.
Don't you think this sauce, though, with the wine and all that is kind of cheating because you could put it on a paper towel and it tastes great?
It may be a little too strong because the pheasant has fabulous flavor all by itself, but using just a little bit like this, it really
just
makes it really nice.
touch of it.
Yeah.
Well, Kath, now you know how, when you do it again, how to make it moist.
Yes, I do.
I think I can learn from her more than teach her.
Richard Grinwis from Muskegon got a rainbow trout in Muskegon River. This is back in January of 2001, a good cold day.
Oh yeah, yeah, very cold. Just
Do you fish this year?
yeah, oh yeah. I fish all the time.
Do you work?
Oh yeah, yeah. I fish a lot for a guy who works full time. Put it that way.
Okay, and why do you spend so much time fishing?
It's a release, get away from the workaday world and all that, and I enjoy it.
Now, what kind of fishing do you particularly enjoy?
Steelhead for the most part. I live on the North Branch of Muskegon River, and I can kind of walk out the back door and do that thing, and I do a lot of it.
Well, that's neat. Kind of getting your own world out there?
Yep. I especially enjoy the winter steelhead, kind of not too much competition. It's beautiful out there in the winter.
Well, cool. Well, way to go. Glad to hear your story there. Richard Grinwis. Well, that just means fun. I mean, that's what the outdoors is all about. Get outdoors if you can. It's a great place to be.
See you next week.
Come on.
That was a nice cackle.
Come on. Oh, yeah.
Come here, Mello.
Oh, another one! Oh, there's no point.
Not all preserves have birds that are so wild, and some people don't like to pay and see their birds get away. It's all in your values. But if you enjoy it, I defend your right to hunt on preserves.
Attaboy. Work in here.